Everyone is still pushing these 10 countries as cheap retirement destinations. And look, you might have even seen my older videos recommending some of these same places. I get it. That information was solid when I made it. But we are in 2026 now, and the data has changed dramatically. I went back, I checked everything, I updated every single number, and what I found, honestly, shocked even me. Some of these countries will drain your entire social security check in under 6 months. The blogs haven't updated, the forums haven't updated, most YouTube channels, including old versions of mine, haven't updated. So today we are, counting them all the way down, and number 1 is the one absolutely nobody wants to talk about. Let's get into it. Number 10, Turkey, the budget Europe that inflated away. Imagine you saved your whole life. You find a beautiful apartment in Istanbul, you lock in your rent, you're paying what feels like nothing compared to back home. And then you wake up one morning and your grocery bill has tripled. Your landlord is asking for double. And the money you're bringing in buys less every single week. That is not a hypothetical. That is what happened to thousands of retirees who moved to Turkey in the last 3 years. Here's what the budget retirement blogs are still telling you. Turkey is Europe on a budget. $1,200 a month, easy. But what they forgot to mention is that Turkey had an inflation rate that hit 75% in 2023. To put that in perspective, the United States panicked when inflation hit 9%. Turkey hit 75 and kept going. Groceries are up roughly 3 times what they cost 2 years ago. Landlords reprice constantly because the lira keeps losing value. A retiree who locked in a great rent deal in 2024 is now paying double for the exact same apartment. Turkey is not completely off the table if your income is in US dollars, but you need to avoid tourist-heavy cities and be strategic. Look at the outskirts of Antalya or a city like Mersin. But stop believing the $900 a month number. That figure is dead. Budget at least $1,500 a month minimum. The bloggers quoting $900 are living in the past. Number 9, Spain. The visa you actually cannot afford. And speaking of living in the past, let's talk about Spain because the pitch sounds so good. Spain has a digital nomad visa, gorgeous coastlines, incredible food, affordable by European standards. Just retire there. And then you actually go to apply for the visa and you hit a wall. Here's what nobody tells you up front. Spain's digital nomad visa requires proof of roughly 2,520 euros per month in income every single month. That is the minimum. Now let's look at the average social security check in 2026. It sits around $1,900. You are already short. You literally do not qualify. Before you've even looked at an apartment, before you've priced out groceries, before you've thought about healthcare, you don't even get through the front door on that visa. But let's say you find a way around that. Maybe you have a pension on top of Social Security. Maybe you have some investment income. You get approved. Now, you're dealing with Barcelona and Madrid, where rents have gone up 15 to 20% in just the past couple of years. And here is something the travel content creators are definitely not showing you. There are active anti-tourism protests happening across Spain. Locals are holding up signs telling foreigners to go home. Why? Because the flood of remote workers and retirees has driven up housing costs so much that actual Spanish citizens cannot afford to live in their own cities anymore. You are not walking into a welcoming environment. So what's the fix? If Spain is your dream and you truly cannot let it go, you skip the coast entirely. You go inland. Towns like Cáceres or Zamora, places tourists haven't ruined yet, are still relatively affordable and genuinely beautiful in their own way. But you need to have your income documentation airtight, either meeting that monthly income threshold or showing 28,000 euros or more in savings for the non-lucrative visa. There is no shortcut, no loophole, no workaround. Get your paperwork right or don't go. Number 8, Ecuador, the expat paradise that got crowded. Alright, let's move away from Europe for a second because the next one is a name that has been at the top of every retirement list for almost a decade now. Ecuador, specifically the city of Cuenca. If you've been researching international retirement for more than 5 minutes, you have heard this one. Cuenca, Ecuador, #1 retirement city in the world. It has won that title so many times that it has basically become a brand. And you know what happens when somewhere becomes a brand? Everyone shows up. And when everyone shows up, prices go up. And that is exactly what happened to Cuenca. 10 years ago, that title was earned. Cuenca was genuinely stunning, genuinely affordable, safe, walkable, with great weather at that altitude. It was the real deal. But the expat flood that followed all those magazine articles and YouTube videos drove rents up 60 to 80% in the popular neighborhoods. 60 to 80%. And here's the part that makes Ecuador uniquely painful. It's a dollarized economy. Ecuador uses the US dollar. That means you get zero currency advantage as an American. In other countries, sometimes a weak local currency gives you buying power. In Ecuador, you're just paying whatever the price is in dollars with no cushion. On top of that, crime has been rising in ways that concern even longtime expats. There have been power grid issues, rolling blackouts in some areas, and grocery prices in the expat zones now rival mid-tier American cities. The whole value proposition has slowly eroded. The fix, skip Cuenca. I know that is painful to hear if you've been dreaming about it, but look south at Loja or at Vilcabamba, which has its own expat community but is significantly more affordable and still safe. Just go in with a realistic budget of $1,400 a month minimum, not the $800 fantasy that keeps getting recycled on retirement blogs. Number 7. Greece, where the €800 dream goes to die. We've all seen the photos. The white buildings, the crystal clear water, a glass of wine on a terrace overlooking the Aegean. And every retirement blog sells you the same line. Retire in Greece for €800 a month, sun, sea, and the good life. Let me show you what that dream actually costs in 2026. The golden visa minimum jumped from €250,000 to €500,000. Overnight in major areas like Athens and the popular islands. Just like that, the affordable entry to Europe doubled. Athens rents are up 30 to 40% in 2 years because Airbnb ate the housing supply. Groceries are up 15 to 20%. And private health insurance for a senior retiree runs between €250 and €400 every single month. Then there's the visa itself. Non-EU retirees need a financially independent person visa requiring proof of €2,000 per month minimum, plus private health insurance already in place. Your average social security check doesn't get you there alone. That €800 lifestyle is now closer to €1,500 to €1,800 anywhere with decent infrastructure. The only remaining affordable option is deep rural mainland Greece, but then you're far from hospitals and everything that made Greece attractive in the first place. Number 6, Colombia, the hidden costs they never show you. You knew this one was coming. Medellin. Oh, Medellin. The pitch is flawless. Best weather on earth, and they call it the city of eternal spring. Incredible food scene, young creative energy, and you can live there for $1,000 a month. And there's always that one guy in the comments who says he's been living there for 5 years and it changed his life, and you should absolutely move there. Here's what that guy's not telling you about 2026. The El Poblado district of Medellin, which is where almost every expat ends up because it's safe, walkable, and has all the amenities, is now priced like a European city. Not Colombian prices, European prices. Because that's who's moved in. Digital nomads from Germany, retirees from the US and Canada, remote workers from all over the world have flooded into that neighborhood and driven up prices to the point where locals can barely afford to live there. Then there's the tax situation, which people learn about after they move, not before. If you stay in Colombia for 183 days or more in a year, which most retirees would since you're actually living there, you may be considered a Colombian tax resident. And Colombia taxes you on your worldwide income. That means your social security, your pension, your investment returns. Colombia could potentially want a cut of all of it. This is not a hypothetical. This is something that has caught real expats completely off guard. The peso has also recovered significantly against the dollar compared to a few years ago, which sounds like good news for Colombia, but is bad news for you. Your dollar just buys less than it used to. The fix: skip Medellin. Seriously, look at Bucaramanga, which has been quietly excellent for years, or Pereira, or Santa Marta on the coast. And before you move anywhere in Colombia, not after before, sit down with a Colombian tax attorney and understand your exposure. Budget $1,400 a month minimum and go in with your eyes open. Number 5, Bali, Indonesia, the Instagram lie. Okay, I need you to really hear me on this one, because this might be the most aggressively oversold destination on this entire list. Live in Bali for $800 a month in paradise. You've seen that headline 1,000 times. You've seen the infinity pools, the rice terraces, the yoga studios, the smoothie bowls. And it looks incredible. It genuinely does. But here's the truth. That $800 gets you a room without air conditioning and a scooter to get around. That is it. That is the $800 Bali life. A room, no AC, a scooter, in a tropical climate where temperatures and humidity are brutal. For a retiree, someone who actually needs reliable healthcare, a comfortable living space, maybe some help around the house, the real number in Bali is between $1,800 and $2,200 a month. More than double what gets advertised. And it gets worse. Indonesia does not have a retiree visa. There is no clear, straightforward visa pathway for someone who just wants to live out their retirement in Bali. You're looking at a social visit visa with extensions, or the newer second home visa, which requires you to park $130,000 in an Indonesian bank account. $130,000. Just sitting there. Not invested, not growing, just sitting in a local bank as a requirement for your visa. How many retirees have that kind of liquidity? The healthcare situation for seniors in Bali is the final nail in the coffin. For anything serious, any real medical situation, you are getting on a plane to Singapore. And medical trips to Singapore will run you $3,000 or more each time, on top of whatever the treatment costs. Bali is a vacation. A beautiful, magical, memorable vacation. It is not a retirement destination. If Southeast Asia is where your heart is, we need to talk about places that actually have retirement infrastructure. Bali is not that place. Number 4, Costa Rica, the safe country that priced you out. Now here's one that's going to hurt because Costa Rica has always been the recommendation that felt responsible. Not the wild card, not the exotic choice, just stable, democratic, relatively safe, English is widely spoken, great natural beauty, and within a few hours' flight of the US, it felt like the smart, sensible choice, and it was. It genuinely was. But here's what happened. Because everyone decided it was the smart, sensible choice, everyone moved there, and when everyone moves somewhere, what happens? Prices go up. Costa Rica is now, and this is not an exaggeration, the most expensive country in Central America. By a significant margin, not slightly more expensive than its neighbors. Far more expensive. Central Valley rents, the area around San Jose where most expats settle, are up 25 to 30% in the past couple of years. Grocery prices run 20 to 40% higher than neighboring countries like Nicaragua or Panama. And the colón, Costa Rica's currency, has been relatively strong against the dollar, which means your purchasing power as an American doesn't get the boost you might expect. And then there's the visa requirement. The rentista visa, one of the main pathways for retirees, requires either proof of $2,500 per month in passive income or a $60,000 deposit in a Costa Rican bank. Again, that's $60,000 sitting in a bank, not earning meaningful returns, just sitting there as a visa requirement. Here's the honest take. If safety is genuinely your number one priority, if you have been through the Colombia and Mexico conversations and you just want somewhere you can breathe easy, Costa Rica still delivers on that promise. It is genuinely safer and more stable than many alternatives, but you need to go in budgeting like you're in a mid-tier American city. $2,000 to $2,400 a month minimum for a comfortable life. The era of cheap Costa Rica did not just slow down, it ended. Completely. Number 3, Thailand. The visa nightmare that just got worse. Alright, we are in the top 3 now, and the next one is going to surprise a lot of people because Thailand has been the gold standard of affordable retirement for so long that it feels almost impossible to knock it off the pedestal. Thailand is the cheapest place to retire in the world. That sentence has been repeated so many times it feels like fact. But let's look at what's actually happening on the ground in 2026. Thailand introduced new long-term resident visa categories, and the requirements are steep. To qualify for the retirement-oriented track, you're looking at $80,000 in annual income or $250,000 or more in verifiable investments. If you don't meet those thresholds, you fall back to the traditional retirement visa. which requires you to keep 800,000 Thai baht frozen in a Thai bank account. That's roughly 22,000 US dollars. Frozen, earning minimal interest. Every year. Bangkok, which was once the budget capital of Southeast Asia, is now genuinely expensive. Not expensive like London or Paris, but expensive in the sense that it no longer offers the dramatic value it once did. You're spending real money in Bangkok. And Chiang Mai, the northern city that became the go-to alternative for people who wanted a quieter, more affordable option, has seen rents in expat neighborhoods climb 30 to 40%. The secret got out and the prices followed. But here's the thing that really kills the Thailand dream for older retirees, and almost no one talks about this directly. Thailand has no pathway to permanent residency for most foreign retirees. You can live there for 20, 30 years, and you will never have any kind of permanent status. You are requalifying for your visa every single year. Every year, you prove your bank balance. Every year, you deal with the paperwork. At 65, that's manageable. At 75, that annual process becomes genuinely exhausting and stressful. And if a rule changes, if Thailand decides 1 year to tighten requirements further, you have zero security. If you're still drawn to Thailand, secondary cities like Khon Kaen or Udon Thani in the northeast still offer value. Budget $1,500 to $1,800 a month, but go in knowing that you're signing up for an annual renewal process for the rest of your life in that country. Number 2, Mexico, the neighbor that stopped being cheap. This one is personally relevant for most American retirees. Mexico's right there. You can drive across. It's familiar in many ways. The food is incredible. English is widely spoken in the major expat destinations. For decades, it was the obvious first answer when someone said they were thinking about retiring abroad. But here's what happened. The remote work revolution hit Mexico like a freight train. Millions of Americans started working remotely and moved to Mexico City, San Miguel de Allende, Lake Chapala, and Merida, bringing American salaries with them. Rents in the major expat hotspots went up 40 to 60% in just 3 years. And the peso is at historic highs against the dollar right now, meaning your social security check buys significantly less than it did in 2020. The currency advantage that made Mexico so compelling for American retirees has largely disappeared. The security situation has also genuinely shifted. Cartel influence has expanded into areas that were previously considered safe buffer zones. This is not fear-mongering. This comes straight from security analysts, expat community leaders, and the U.S. State Department. Health insurance costs are rising sharply for older foreigners too. The fix is to go somewhere the expat wave hasn't discovered yet. Zacatecas, Durango, smaller towns around Oaxaca, these still offer real value. Budget $1,500 a month minimum for anything comfortable, and carry real comprehensive health insurance, not the tourist card that some people try to pass off as coverage. Real coverage. Number 1, Portugal, the biggest trap in all of expat retirement. And here we are, number 1. The one nobody wants to talk about because it upends years of conventional wisdom and proves that even the most beloved retirement destination in the world can turn on you overnight. Portugal. For almost a decade, Portugal was the answer. The D7 passive income visa made it accessible. The non-habitual resident tax regime meant you could potentially pay little to no Portuguese tax on foreign income for 10 years. The weather was perfect, the food was incredible, the people were warm, English was widely spoken. It felt like Europe, but at a price point that made sense for a retiree on a fixed income. Every single retirement resource pointed to Portugal. And then, almost all at once, everything changed. The non-habitual resident tax program, that incredibly attractive tax break that was a cornerstone of why Portugal made financial sense, was eliminated for new applicants in 2024. If you're reading this now and you haven't locked it in yet, it's gone. Anyone telling you to move to Portugal for the NHR tax benefits is working from outdated information. Lisbon and Porto rents have doubled since 2020. Not gone up 20%. Not gone up 50%. Doubled. And the Portuguese government, under enormous public pressure from its own citizens who cannot afford to live in their own capital, has actively made it harder for foreign retirees to compete for that housing stock. The Golden Visa Real Estate wrote, "Gutted. The D7 visa still exists, but income requirements have tightened and the cost of living has made the financial math much harder." Here is the brutal truth. Portugal went from being the undisputed number 1 affordable retirement destination in Western Europe to one of the most expensive. while simultaneously making it harder to get in. The articles still ranking Portugal as a top retirement destination are 2 or 3 years out of date. The world they're describing no longer exists. If you're already in Portugal with your NHR status locked in, stay. You beat the window closing. If you're not, look at the Balkans, Albania, Serbia, North Macedonia. That's where the next real opportunity is. That's the list. 10 countries that every YouTuber, every travel blogger, every retirement forum is still calling cheap. And not a single one of them is what it was just 2 years ago. The world moves fast. Prices move faster. And the advice that was accurate in 2022 can absolutely wreck a retirement plan in 2026 if you follow it blindly. Do your research, use current numbers, talk to people who are actually living in these places right now, not people who lived there 5 years ago and haven't been back. Your retirement is too important to base on outdated blog posts. Now, if you want to know which countries are actively pushing Americans out with policy changes and visa restrictions, watch this one next. And if you want to know the one European country where Americans can actually live for a full year with no visa required, it exists, it's stunning, and it's right here. I'll see you there.